John, every week I'm impressed by your counting backwards skills.
I know, and especially when I can go from like 2.
Yeah, because like
go.
that's usually about what it is.
Yeah.
2, 1, go.
And
Hey everybody, and welcome to your Monday night show. Thank you very much for taking time out of your schedule to come join us tonight. It's gonna be interesting. John said we're gonna touch people, and I didn't think we were allowed to do that. Like even before Corona, he got in trouble for touching people.
That is true. I didn't even think about that.
And then we had this, and
and then we get in trouble, and then there's like the FCC rules or whatever. Ugh, man, CDC guidelines we're not following, and I didn't bring my mask. I think I do have rubber gloves though on that side of the building because I've done some staining projects, so I've got rubber gloves. So,
there you go.
So we're at least good with that. So.
Just don't put the rubber gloves over your face like a mask. It doesn't work that way.
Hold it down and inflate it with my nose. Okay, that'd be great.
The things we could talk about that we've missed.
I'm sharing some links. First one we're going to share in the chat is where folks can sign up for the DJ and TV training area. It's still available. It's still free right now. And we are going to be starting next week to be adding more content to it on how to get started as a DJ. And specifically, I just did a show on this. It was about an 8-minute show, very short. How to get going as a DJ for 2021, what you need to do to get ready for that, to be prepared for it, and how to do that in the light of this COVID situation and all of that, which means that there's some advice. When I did these shows back in January, there's some things that have changed since January in some of the recommendations of what we have going forward. There's going to be 10 weeks starting next week, and every week is going to have a different topic of getting you ready. And I'm going to have guests coming in and talking with me on the different things. So if you guys get a chance, take the 10 minutes to go check that video out. It's out on our YouTube channel, Facebook page, and you can see that. And we'll be doing that next week. Will be the first one at the 9 o'clock Eastern time frame. So I wanted to throw that out there. So that is the link. There's a link there that you guys can go get more training than just that.
John, I think you should have offered it for $1.
I could have, but then that means
people hear free and they go, "Oh, he can't be free."
That's true.
There's a hidden trick. Charge $1, and they're like, "Yeah, what have I got to lose?"
Yeah, that's true. I could have charged $1, $5, and there is something to that. Of course, as they refer to that, having some skin in the game. That is a marketing strategy when it comes to that. Of course, then that means that a person has to manage and deal with that, and
yeah, that's true.
It gets to be way more work for $1 than But yeah,
so here's what we're going to do, everybody. Just to make it, because if you still haven't signed up, this is the only way you're going to do so. You're going to send me $1, and then I'm going to tell John, and we're going to get you signed up. And so therefore, it's going to cost you $1, and it's really going to be free in John's eyes.
Exactly.
And it all works.
And then I don't have to deal with $1.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I take in Dunkin' Donut gift cards, so just if that helps.
That would be more beneficial for me. A Dunkin' Donut gift card is like might as well be tickets to the moon. There's a Dunkin' Donuts within Chicago. I don't know. Do they have them in Minneapolis? I don't think so. Maybe
really?
They do. They might. Now that I'm thinking about it, I think they do have one in Minneapolis again. They used to have them all over, but in their low tide time frame when they all left, we did not have one in Minneapolis for a number of years. But now that I'm thinking, I think Troy Ackerman, who is a huge Dunkin' Donut fan, I believe that he is happy because when he goes to Minneapolis, there is a Dunkin'.
Okay. Are you close enough to the New York or to the Canadian border for just Tim Hortons? We actually have a Tim Hortons that was down here, 40 minutes from us. They brought one in, and no one could understand the language, so they went out of business. It was coffee, eh?
It was coffee, eh? Yeah. What would you like in your coffee? I'd like a lot. Yeah.
Oh, but no, seriously, you can talk to anybody. If you just throw it up in the chat, hey, is this worth it? Even just to do it for free, as the content's there, you're going to have like 20,000 people are just going to be like, yes, just do it already. So again, djntv.com/help. And as John said, new content is coming. So do it. Just be smart. Do it.
Yeah, you guys can join that if you're not there. If you are an insider and such, go ahead and share the link and such. If things aren't opening up for people and they can't and they're not able to get back to work, which is probably what's going to happen. We're going to extend the access here into June, so that folks can utilize that. So, and there's a Tim Horton in New York City. Yeah, I think in St. Cloud it was a Boston. Was it a Boston Market? I believe was a little restaurant. I think it was a Boston Market. Then they knocked that down, and then they put up a Tim Hortons, and I think that is done, and they've knocked it down too. So, yeah. Okay, so let's dig into tonight's topic. This is an area in which I'm having DJs who Danny kind of threw out this topic, but I've had people asking about this one. We're into the situation where we're not doing anything, we're not making money. The venues are not making money. None of us within the wedding industry, i.e., or an industry that requires people to get together, aren't making any money. And what do? Technically, we shouldn't. With these stay-at-home orders, many of us who are under or are still under, we shouldn't be going out to the venues. And sometimes the venues are closed down and there's no one around. I actually went to a venue Friday. I figured I'd stop by and just say, hey. And doors were locked. I called and it went to a machine that says, "Hey, we're not there." So I decided, well, I've got the cell phone of the person. I called their cell phone, and they're like, "Yeah, I only go in for a couple of hours." She goes, "It's way too depressing to be there." It's like, oh, okay,
yeah, and that's the thing that I think one of the things I've started to notice is in my areas things are starting to open up a little bit. In PA, they did a red, yellow, green phase.
Mm-hmm.
Red means nothing was happening, essentials only. Yellow means, okay, something's going to happen, but we're restricting you to 25 and under, and you still got to be social distance, still got a mask. And then green is still with masks and social distance, but things can be open. So I don't know that one yet. But anyway, we're in the yellow phase. And so I'm starting to see some optimism from some of the venues. But prior to that, a lot of my friends that are on Facebook, and you could just tell, like, they'd be making comments, and even though it'd be nothing like seriously, it was just the tone. Like, yep. You could almost read the tone in their messages of desperation, don't want to be in this building. We need people in here again.
What's interesting about that is two things that one was conversation today. One came out of the Sunday paper. In the Sunday paper, we saw the first ad for an attorney saying, if you got COVID somewhere, give us a call, which we've been kind of talking about that, mm-hmm. that there could be lawsuits tied into this, specifically with venues. Today, talking to a venue owner, the venue owner's like, if they say 50 people and I have 51 in here and someone gets sick and I have violated the mandate, I am now, I basically, my liability insurance will not cover me. We're back to that lawsuit, that whole lawsuit thing again. So I think that we've got some of the venues. We have another one that Lori was talking to today. They're basically going to open up next Monday, hell or high water. Doesn't matter what the state says, they're going to open. They feel it's their right to open, which the state of Minnesota is going to allow, some limited seating and opening up, keep your distance, that kind of stuff, have a plan, have your face, whatever. So it's not going to be like it was, before, but they'll be open. The question becomes is, what's their capacity at? If the room is, fire marshal room says it's 100 or 200, and they have to be at 50% capacity or a head count limit or 25% capacity, which we've heard that number also. What happens when they have 26%? Mm-hmm. That's going to be very very tough.
And I think it really comes down to, as you mentioned, and what DJ Extreme just mentioned in the chat. Liability factor is everything. I think it's going to be one of those things where if you have 26%, oh well, nobody's going to say anything. Something happens,
it's going to hit the fan.
It's going to, because then there's going to be a fight over, well, you allowed this, but you didn't do this, or, well, no, you were responsible for covering this, and it's just going to be an ugly, cyclic problem that's going to be, unfortunately, a lose for the venue or a lose for the people who are allowing more in.
Yeah, and that could be that would be the huge concern. obviously for the venues. Now, as from the DJ side of it, as I'm talking to the venue people, and we're trying to stay positive and talk about, hey, what can we do once things open up to work together to help you, because they've got a much more overhead than I do. So if I'm there, if I'm making half of what my regular rate is, I'm okay. I mean, in my case, my gear is paid for. I didn't buy any new gear this year. My big expenses for the year are all paid for. So really, for me, beyond my monthly bills of personal things, it's not a big deal. So it's like I can be more flexible to help them to try to do some things, because most of these venues aren't going to see, if that was a 200-person wedding, it's going to be somewhere between 100 to 50 people instead of 200 type of thing, if they even allow a 50-person wedding. So it's tough to go in there and do that, because some of them are like, yep, once it opens up May 18th, we're good. We're going to be back. I don't think so.
I love the optimism.
Yeah, I love that blind. In some cases, I don't know if it's if optimism would be the word to use, or if it's the I don't want to say ignorance, naivete, being naive. Probably would be maybe more.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and we could talk coronavirus all night long. Just the attitude that, that
but
some people have that by opening up, it's gone, and it's not. And I heard this from a health profession friend of mine who was like, listen, just because things are opening up, that doesn't mean it's gone. It just means we now have the beds for you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and exactly.
So,
and I think we could talk about, but I think we have to set the table a little bit for this, because to know what the venues are thinking and where we can have these conversations. I mean, first off, how we connect them is obviously one. Connect to them and talk to them is one thing, and then the second part of it is what we can do to bring value to them, to help them, in whatever that means. When we say help them, and we can get back to that, but to know what venues, where they're coming from. They're most of the time they've got a staff of 10 to 100 people that they've had to either put on a layoff or hopefully have done the loan thing and the stress of that. One of the restaurants saw that's just down the road here from what we were told, there's close to $3,000 worth of steaks in their freezers that basically, if they sit for a month, they'll be not usable for a commercial purpose anymore. So they got thrown. So, and that was $3,000 back 8 weeks ago. Now with the price of beef, it's probably $5,000. So they've gone through some tough times. What do we, when we're reaching out to these venues, venue owners or managers, what kind of how do you open that conversation? That's the part I basically struggled with, especially if it's someone I don't know pretty well. If I like the guy up the road here that I know, it's like, so how are things going? I've kind of kept tabs, and it's like, so, how are the takeouts going? Is that working for you? And, what have you been seeing? And, you can open the door and have a conversation. But if I can't get to them, how does one start that conversation?
Well, I feel regardless of the situation, regardless of whether it's in the light of what's happening right now or whether it is in light of the 8,000 other things going on, when you reach out, you need to have a reason. Like I'm not the type of person to walk into a venue that I don't know and don't really have a reason to be there to say, hey, want to come say hi. Like it's hard for me. Like I need to have a reason. Mm-hmm. Now if it's a site visit or something like that, that's different. But so when I'm reaching out to the ones that I'm not as connected with, I think you have to go forward. So one of the ideas that I would recommend would be to give them some optimism, to give them some potential hope that they can have events there. And case in point, the stuff we talked about last week with the not completely virtual weddings, but the weddings where you're going to have a limited number of people and you're going to be doing some things virtually. Like, listen, I got this great idea. I'd love to be able to work with your venue on it. You know, if we have XYZ from the couple, would you and a limited number of staff be able to do that? Would you be able to be a part of this? And that I think is where your door opens, because if they say, you know, listen, for us to be able to pull off a wedding, even of 25 people, I need to have at least 10 people of staff. Sorry, you're not the venue I'm going to try and push this on, because that now took a 25 person wedding down to 14 people. So I'm going to count myself as one of the people that needs to be there. Your 10 staff, the bride and groom are not going to, well, I should say they're not going to, but most are probably not going to go for that.
Yeah, you get to a point.
But the staff that comes back and goes, you know what? In order for us to pull this off, we can have our staff that can do stuff in advance, but the day of, when this is happening, we can get away with it with 4 people in the, you know, or 3 people in the room, you know, or whatever. And we've got one that's in the building that's over, you know, tucked away in the kitchen that never comes out. I don't know the logistics of, you know, of your state, but let's assume for a second that's okay. Okay, now that's great. Let's talk a little bit more. Here's my idea. Here's how we can make this work. What do you think? And so you started that optimism. You came to them with a purpose. You came to them with a plan, and you came to them with something to kind of help them look forward to how things are going to move forward. And it also gives them a possibility, so that if, because here's a very realistic option for some states, is that they're going to open, things are going to spike because they open too fast, and whatever too fast might mean. And they go, whoa, we were wrong. Okay, we're going back to plan A again. Everybody's home for the next month. You've set something up for them. So it's not going to be a situation where couples are coming to them and they're expecting a 200 person wedding, and now they've got that $3,000 worth of meat that's going to go gone.
Yeah, which definitely could happen. And that was something that one of the experts that are talking out there, medical experts, was saying, is that we may have a situation where we will have events that are planned on very, very short notice, that we're going to have potentially regional lockdowns as the tracing of these come on, and they may find a spot that, okay, in this city, we've got to shut down everything, any social gathering for a month, which it might happen here, but it may not be 10 miles down the road or 20 miles, whatever the vicinity will be, you know, a distance away. They could still be open to have 50 people events. And that's going to be a real difficult situation, because there's going to be events at your favorite venue, and we could, you know, I think somebody was talking about it. So we're getting ready to go to, you know, Bobby and Susie's wedding. There's 40 guests and staff and everything, so we're all under the 50 or whatever, however they handle that. And what happens when, for some reason, I test positive for COVID? You know, if we have to test ourselves before going into a public place, which some of these 15-minute testing things, that's what they're recommending, is that if you're going to be in a room with over, you know, beyond your family for over an hour, you should be tested before. And it's like, how so many variables. And then again, how do we, when we're talking to the venue, is there's these real concerns. I don't know how we're going to be able to balance all these things out and be flexible, and yet still do what we need to do to keep our businesses alive too.
Mm-hmm. Well, and looking for those ways to create opportunities. You know, Joe in the chat room said, how can a venue possibly cover costs with a wedding of 50 people? It's not like they can charge $1,000 a person to cater a wedding.
Yep.
And exactly right. And, you know, I would assume most of your venues that are worth anything have taken their time to figure out what they need to clear in order to not lose money during this situation. But, you know, as a lot of them have started to look at, well, listen, we've got people we need to employ. We've got a venue that we need to be able to open, and we need to get some positivity flowing through this building, whatever it is. Some of them, I think, might be more willing to take a $100 loss and prevent an event and create an event one night than to have $1,000 loss that has no event that night, whatever might be the case. But I think, again, it comes down to what you can do to create that moment and to create that situation. And, another idea I'm going to throw out, and I keep coming back to some of this virtual idea, but, if a venue is concerned about people, because if you're going to have 25, 50 people, whatever, and they're concerned about that, another possibility would to be allow the venue to be the backdrop for the virtual event. So what I mean by that is your couple is there, maybe a parent from each side, and that's about it. And then everything else is virtually. Nobody else is in attendance with the exception of the DJ. You don't, and maybe you have one person who's serving the food. Like, you've got it even smaller, but they're not creating this big event. They're creating something small, but now their venue becomes that backdrop for the bride or the groom who got kicked out of that county that was, 10 miles up the road because they went on shutdown. All right, listen, we're not expecting you to suddenly create something. We just need a place. We need a roof overhead, and we need a beautiful backdrop. So, because think about this, I mean, in some aspects, I mean, John, I love your office and everything else, but if you're going to be doing a wedding and that's your backdrop, it doesn't really look as nice and appealing as, think of your favorite venue.
Yeah, for sure.
It's hurting right now and could use that as the backdrop.
Yeah.
It's going to be weird playing to a relatively empty room, or even an empty room. I mean, if they're that concerned, they may not even want the couple in there. But again, allowing that to be the backdrop would be possibly a little bit more enticing and appealing to some of those people.
Yeah, being creative and coming back to that virtual, that ability, and I think that's going to be our selling point. I think, for a period of time, we were able to sell. What makes me different? Well, one of the things is during the dinner time, you and I will kind of figure out what your plan is with the meal and how you want it to happen. And then I will be the MC, and I'll be able to direct traffic and get people where they need to be and do this and do that. And the venues at one time were like, oh, that's so awesome. No one does that. That's going to be great. And then once you pull it off, they're like, this is awesome. So the emceeing and hosting at one time was kind of a cool thing. I think that the next thing we're going to bring is from the entertainment side is that virtual capability. And there might be situations where some guests are under the tent and they have to be, I don't know if, there's, or the second venue. I actually had someone that was inquiring about that. They're going to have one venue. They're planning one venue. If there's only 50 people, they'll be in a small room here. And then down the block, there will be another venue and there will be people there. They're wanting to do it so they're far enough away so that they hopefully won't intermingle back and forth. But that's one of their thoughts of how they can maybe keep, their 100 guests involved between the two spots. I don't understand how they're going to do, people are going to want to see the bride and groom. Oh, crap, we got the wrong room. The bride and groom are at the other fun party, and we're just here with a bunch of, however I don't know what they'd do.
I wonder, and this is something, this is where doing your homework about your particular area is going to make you the hero of the day. So, for example, and I keep coming back to PA because that's kind of what I'm expecting, what I'm used to, obviously. We've got the 25 person limit. I'm still trying to figure out what classifies 25 person limit. Like, how far apart do we need to be? Like, for example, if I'm at a park and I've got my 25 people in a pavilion and throw a baseball half-heartedly and you can hit another pavilion, can I have 25 in that one?
Mm-hmm.
And do it again a little bit more, and I've got 25 in that one. Now I've got them up to 75, and they're relatively close together. If those three can happen independently, then why couldn't they happen together? Technically, I know I don't mean like all together, but I mean if I'm having all three of those places. So think of a venue that has multiple rooms. Okay, now I don't have 25 in this room, and that's it. I've got 25 in this room, and I've got 23 over there, so the bride and groom can go back and forth. I realize now we're talking about cross contamination. I'm not going there, but
yeah, exactly. So there's so many variables in that.
But knowing your homework and knowing what's that fine line that your couples can walk and not have to worry about problems, but also that the venues might be willing to let walk. Because for example, listen, this is the state rule. This is what it says. They have to be within, the groupings of 25 have to at least be 100 yards apart from each other. Hey, you've got a room over there. You've got a room over there. And let's do the measurement. Oh, they're 150 yards apart. Perfect. Hey, you know what? That's great. You know what that means? That means we can get this party a little bit bigger to help each other out. And then you do one sound system in one sound system in the other, and stream it. I don't know. Between the two rooms.
We've got a lot of great
really
chat.
Good wireless system.
We got a lot of great chat going on in the chat room tonight. If you guys are out on Facebook or YouTube, the YouTube is really going well. Thank you guys for being there. Yeah, so many variables about room space. Do we count in that head count? Do we not? Does the venue staff count? Whatever. All of that, we take that and put it in a little ball, a messy ball, and we're going to put that over here. Here's the only thing I could come up with when it comes to connecting with the venues like that, is to say, we know that there's a lot of variables and we don't know what those are going to be for sure, except eventually they'll come out in our area. I think what we go and talk to these venues is especially those of us who stream and know the streaming, and a lot of you, because you've been in the DJ chill room, you've watched our shows, you know more about streaming than the average person does. We offer that. We're entertainment. Yes, we can be an MC. Yes, we can help host. We can help plan, but we can for weddings that, whatever size it is, Mr. Venue Owner, I can help you stream that to remote family members who probably can't make it. Whether that's 1 or 50 remote family members, I can help put that together into this really cool thing, like our micro weddings we talked about last week. I think that's the message that we really would have to take, is that we can offer some solutions that the venue owner could say, okay, I'm gonna put that in the back of my mind, because I'm gonna have somebody who comes up and they're gonna say, oh my gosh, what can we do? And then I can say, I got a guy. I think that's really the best we're going to come up with right now. Yeah.
I mean, you do want to be careful, I guess. That you don't cross the line saying, hey, this is gonna be legal, and just because you did a little homework.
Yeah. Legalities. You don't
or liable, maybe better.
Well, either one. You don't want to be on the hook right now, because again, flashing back to Sunday, here, I'm opening up the paper and it's like, oh, there's the first attorney ad. Figured it was coming. Just didn't know when it would be. If it would be something we'd see on TV first, or if we'd see it advertised. And there it was, is the first one. So offering what we do, offering to work with them, but there's no way in the world I'd put my name on a contract right now with a venue to do it, because as they've mentioned in the chat room, is any liability insurance you have, whether it's ours or if it's the venues, they've all sent out disclaimers saying COVID is no longer covered. Our business insurance for the Hometown News, which is what this is all run under, is the Hometown News office. It says that there's no coverage for COVID. So if somebody comes here and we didn't do something right and they get sick, well, sucks to be you. That sucks to be us, by the way, not the person who got sick, which would suck to be them too. But we would be the ones that would be, if they wanted to push it, could be responsible for the situation. See, and if that 100 more people at the event are remote people from all over, of course, then we've got it. And I heard that there was this person who was working on live streaming music. I got to remember what that was all about, but
you didn't make it anywhere with that idea yet, did you?
Yeah, I was on the phone for about 3 hours today, and I was going to talk about that once we kind of wrapped up this area a little bit. And this would be more for those folks who, this is bonus, that would be bonus stuff because we didn't title anything with that, so that's never going to be searchable in that.
Right. So stick around. John, if you know what John's talking about, it's going to be worthwhile. And if you didn't know what John's talking about, it's still going to be worthwhile. I want to switch to schools for just a moment.
Yeah.
I think we've talked quite a bit about this and about the other side of it. And I think it's important to reach out to the schools. If you've got a school event or if you typically do school events, they are, for lack of better terms, begging for something right now because prom was taken away. Graduation, for the most part, is taken away. In any sense of normalcy, it's gone. So you have these seniors, especially, and sometimes the juniors, who are completely missing out on things that they've looked forward to for a long time. And even to the point that, like, in where we're at, there is a change.org. I've seen 2 different petitions to the schools to not come up with a plan to have graduation anything other than the normal. Basically, and doing it on time. Like they one of the schools has set it up where they're going to do like 5 or 10 minute increments or whatever, however they work it, for each student. And you go, you watch your kid do his thing, and he or she walks across the stage, and then you leave. I guess they clean, and then the next person comes in, and they do it, and they've got it set up. And it's a smaller school, so it's easier to do, but that's like their plan. And there was people that were arguing and complaining. How dare they do this? My child deserves a graduate. Nobody's disagreeing with that, but it's not happening right now. So not in the normal way. So they're looking for something. They're looking for that solution. So if you have something that works as a solution, whether you have the skills to help them with that streaming side of that graduation, whether it be a virtual prom, you reaching out right now is they're going to look you as like the savior of it all. Like, we thought the only people who could do virtual proms was New York City because we heard a radio station put one on while they were up there. You wait, you mean in our backyard we can do that? Yes. And you can decide personally how you're going to handle that, whether there's a fee or not. There was actually a master class that went on earlier. I saw an email that came out about that.
Oh yeah.
That was all focused on how to approach them, how to charge them. It was supposed to be great. I didn't get a chance to check it out, but like all the ducks were in the row for the person who taught it. I believe it surely sounded that way. But schools, like I said, schools are wanting something. I reached out to a couple schools today, and within 10 minutes, I had 2 different schools reply saying, "We want more details." Mm-hmm. We want more details.
And I think that DJ Extreme is in the chat room and saying that they were brainstorming with schools with the prom grad, what have you. And it seems that there's two groups. You've got the schools, 3. There's a couple of schools who are like, oh my gosh, I love the idea, and they're going to go forward with it because they're in the right area. It seems that most of the schools, probably, or a good percentage of the schools are like, I love the idea. Can I get more information? But when it gets right down to administrators making the decision, they pull the plug. And I think that's what Extreme is referring to too. That's what we saw here. Is when we put out the feelers for the virtual prom, the advisors loved it. They were like, "This is awesome. We can do it, and the kids can be part of it." And when they ran it up the flagpole, it got slapped down at all 5 of the schools that we marketed it to. I think that some of the schools. Nick, you're not using. Nick wasn't using his thing. Some of the schools, I think. They have their own stuff, and they might have tried to do something. Of course, Minnesota basically shut down graduations. The Minnesota Department of Education did. So there's nothing to happen here. But I think you've got enough things that are going on that the schools, once it hits the administration and it becomes they're talking the potential for lawsuits and people getting sick. And, grandma comes to the school. She, didn't go anywhere else, and she came to the school, and the COVID trackers are tracking it, and they can figure it out. As much as we'd love to do stuff, Even some of the people who have said that I was talking to a gentleman who's doing a massive street an outdoor prom for about 6 schools in I think it was either northern Minnesota or North Dakota in July. That type of a thing, while it sounds great on paper and it gets people excited, the reality of the situation we're flashing back to, if they have an outbreak 2 weeks ahead of time in that area, it's done. It just won't happen here. So.
Well, and extreme, I think it also depends upon, like he exactly said, he said admins are worried about gatherings of any kind. And I'm with that. And I think it depends upon how you go about and what you brainstorm. So for example, with John's virtual prom that he presented, it was the idea that they might get together with their date, and that's pretty much it. The idea that I presented to the schools was, this is, because we're in yellow and they can start to get together a little bit, they still, need to be social and whatever, socially distant or whatever. But because there is that, they can get together with their date. They don't have to worry, but we're not talking the large numbers that you would have at an actual prom. Mm-hmm. So it makes it a little bit different and a little bit easier for maybe them to accept and for them to run with. I actually reached out rather than reaching out to the advisors. I reached out to the principals. One, because I was booked for all these weddings. I wasn't worried about school dances this year. Mm-hmm. I was booked up. So all the proms, when they happen, it was going to be, well, I've already got a wedding that day, so forget it. So I didn't follow up with who the advisors are. So when I was reaching out, I was reaching out to admin. So if you're presenting it with the idea of like, they're going to get together with their friends, so you just might as well, approve it. No.
Yeah. And yeah.
You can play ignorant and say like, listen, we're presenting this, and the idea is that it is only the people that are attending or only the people that are participating are the people that are watching, and they're from their own home, but they get to kind of be with their friends. They get to have a good night of music and fun and party it up by themselves, and they can go FaceTime with each other, whatever. You might, in theory, get a little bit more of a bite on that than from the admin who are going to be worried about any gathering whatsoever. Right.
Yeah. 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 The kids won't follow rules. I mean, we saw that, and it was an unfortunate situation, but last weekend, two juniors in high school, 16 and 17-year-old, from a school had been out drinking the night before, and they were in a car accident at 5 a.m. One of them ended up dying from the accident. But they ended up having like Sunday night, Monday night, whatever. One of the nights they turned the football field lights on, and we're having a little memorial service or a little service for the kids. And they were supposed to be spread out over the football field, and they're gathered in the middle. There's no, at 8, 15, 16, 17 years old, most of the kids just don't have that concept of social distancing because they're indestructible. I went to the store today, and I'm wearing my mask as a good 50-year-old person should be. And here's a 15-year-old kid who comes in there, and he just came off riding his dirt bike, and he's kind of scoffing at the old guy wearing, that's having to wear a mask. And that's kids. We were all teenagers. We were all that way, and nothing. I might get sick, but I'll be over it within 24 hours, type of thing. And so. That, I think, is one of the big reasons why the admins or the administrators just know kids well enough to know that they won't. Yeah. They won't. So yeah, when it comes to schools, I think we kind of get back to what we can offer these things, offer sound systems to do outdoor if they can do an outdoor thing. Offer our services for helping stream, although most probably have a tech department that could handle streaming at a level. They just don't have the sound gear that typically we do. So if we can offer our services that way and can do it in a way that they will utilize, we could, and even if we don't make any money on the deal, it could be a good enough it could be in essence, advertising or marketing for your business so that they will think of you that, hey, you helped us with the outdoor graduation we ended up doing later for the kids, whatever. Let's talk as you're in their Rolodex type of thing.
And sometimes just again making that connection is going to make leaps and bounds. Because I've also found, there's been schools where, I may have done something 10 years ago, and because of staff changeovers and advisors or whatever, or my schedule didn't work, when I finally did reach out to him again, finally got in touch with him again at the right person. Oh, we've been doing so-and-so because we just didn't know who to do.
Yeah.
We didn't know who to call, and whether that's legit or whether that's just, blowing smoke, it's still something to keep in mind, that your reach out, your attempt at good graces, when potentially nobody else might be, could go a long way with helping you 6 months down the road.
For sure. You make a great point that it's some of these schools that have turned us down in the past. Every once in a while, a person should retouch. It's one of those little things you forget about after, I've been shot down by that school. I've never done a show there. And I did some, 15, 20 years ago, and I haven't done a show there in 10 years. Yeah, well, unfortunately, we last longer than a lot of staff, especially in these smaller schools where I'm at, because they come out here, they get a couple of years of they get, in essence, experience, and then they go back to the city schools that pay $10,000 or more a year. So that they do. So to boil it all down, go in there with a helpful servant heart to offer what you can do and such, and see where it takes you.
Why is that the message of almost every one of our shows?
Pretty much. Yeah, it's because that's the servant.
Be a good person.
Be a good person. Say your prayers. Eat your veggies. Tell mommy you love her. That kind of a thing. Okay, so let's talk music licensing.
Yes.
So today, I was on the phone for about an hour today, talking to some of the music industry movers and shakers when it comes to licensing. There's multiple places that deal with licensing of music for different functionalities. Many of our record pools have licensing for distributing the music that come from those specific labels. And then in the music licensing world, you've got the licensing for the labels, so they will let you use it. And then there's you've got the artists themselves that are represented by the labels, the artists, and the writers of the music. And then you've got music video, which is another beast in itself. So there's all these different little aspects of licensing music to be performed somewhere. So on the conversation today, the only way that music licensing is going to be able to happen. Now, someone mentioned the Mixcloud thing. And Mixcloud, of course, if you haven't been following, Mixcloud Live is starting a paid-for service where you can go and pay to stream your DJ show, and then once it's over, the video is gone. That's actually an interesting thing, because Twitch, why it's not getting in trouble in a huge way, is because the shows are streamed and they're gone, so they're not available on demand later. So it makes it so that it's really a lot tougher for people to be able to go and steal some of the music off a streamed event, which makes the licensing people a little bit happier that they can't do that. Mixcloud, of course, is the only one that's paid for that is supposed to be a legal service. They may or may not. I mean, as far as I shouldn't say that. They may not be paying the artists and everyone at like we would think they are, as far as they may not be getting much money. It might be Spotify type money, but to a point that's not our business. Our idea, what we wanted, is we were looking for a way to be able to play music and put it out there. There are agreements between the record labels and YouTube. Not all labels have arrangements with YouTube, but many of them have, and that's why you can go and you can DJ a set on YouTube. And you might say that it might pop up later saying that, well, your video is no longer monetizable. We're giving that money that people to other labels, or the music copyright holders. That's what they can do. What happens is Warner Brothers, as an example, is a record label, and if you use one of the creators with the video as such, and if it pops up, it's gone. They're one that will block a video immediately. there's probably about 3 or 4 that we found. And Jimmy's up on this more than I, because he's the one who does the Sunday music show. And there'll be a song, and if it's from a certain label, was it U something G, UDG? Well, anyway, whatever it is. Some of those, every time there's a song, and if it's too recognizable, they block it. Warner Brothers does the video. That was the music videos. That's what they're blocking. So as you're talking to them, for those of you who are out there mixing, using remixes, doing a lot of funky stuff and dropping beats and modifying the music, the chance of us ever getting a license so that you can stream to Facebook or YouTube without the potential block, it's not going to happen. It's just we're never going to be able to get all of the labels on board, because in most cases they don't want us using remixes of their songs or to be modifying their songs in ways that might make the song look less than favorable. That's enough for them to say no. Where streaming licensing can happen, and this is where we're going to proceed for the time, is for wedding DJs or family event DJs who are playing basically the radio edit or the radio versions of songs as they were released to these to our record pools. Those songs, if we can identify the most used songs, let's say that we identify 5,000 songs that a wedding DJ might play, we can get clearance on those 5,000 songs, which would mean that you could then get a license to play songs from that list of 5,000 songs at your event, and you'd be able to stream it in a variety of different sources, because they could license that. And then some of these sources would then, once that was filed with them, they would honor those licensing on those particular songs. The problem is that, let's say that we have these 5,000 songs, and then a brand new song comes out hot next week, and you drop that one into that playlist. All of a sudden, you violated your license, and you're going to lose your license. So, for wedding DJ, there's a couple of possibilities. A person could, create this list of 2,000 songs, have it cleared, and make that your legal streaming capability. You could do a wedding where it's a micro wedding, and you're wanting to include family and friends through a live stream. You would have to stay for the period of time of the live stream in that group of 2,000 songs. And then let's say that for the first hour and a half, 2 hours, you're only going to live stream 2 hours in advance. You stay within those 2,000 songs. And then once you shut the cameras off, you can do whatever you want to do. But during the live stream, you would have to stay within those licensed songs to make it work. The question becomes, would DJs do that? Or do we just wait until Mixcloud has better servers and stream with Mixcloud?
I think the answer comes back to, what's the format that it's going to be on. Because for your DJs who are, one, continually getting shut down on Facebook, but there are some who are just like, you know what, I'm doing Facebook, and if I could put in Facebook jail, I could put in Facebook jail. I'm not going to bother with any of the other ones because I can't get anybody to go over there and follow me on the other
There is
ones.
that, yeah. And there's ways, you can make Facebook. You see numerous mixing people who are playing. They're doing it, whether they're pitching the music up or they're mixing so quickly or they're they're doing a mashup. There's ways that they're getting around it a little bit. And some people just get lucky, and for whatever reason, the computer is not catching it. It's just a lot of people are doing it, but I don't know if anyone's making money on it right now. You hear a couple of big people who are making money on it because they're getting sponsors involved behind the scenes and putting some things into it. The average DJ, I don't think they're making anything off this. I mean, the first few weeks there were tips being handed out. People were tipping the DJ $5 here, $5 there. I think that has since pretty much dried up. So it's really beyond an ego thing, I think, is probably the best way to describe it, because we're not doing it. We're not able to use it to build business. We're not using it to be able to really show off our talents, because we're not playing the type of music that we would be playing at their events. So they would say, oh, wow, he's got some really good musical taste. No, we've got to play all the way through. So it may appeal to some people, but probably not my preferred mobile audience. So when someone asks about streaming, what the thoughts on it, it's kind of a waste of time as far as I'm, but for a lot of people, maybe they've got the time to put into it and they can do some things. Great. But there's nothing that's really sucks more is to go put all that time into setting up the studio. And then that Friday when YouTube all of a sudden shut the stream off, it's like, oh, and the video's blocked and it's gone. It's like, okay, we were doing this for an hour and it's just dead. So now on the flip side, that we'll be utilizing that studio space yet, but we're going to be doing shows that are for educational purposes and are going to be streamed, deleted, or streamed probably to Twitch and deleted, and then we will go to the recording will go put up on Vimeo for our members area to be hidden behind that. And that way people can still go through and learn about some of the 70s and 80s music that we talk about.
Well, and the ego is one thing, because otherwise, I mean, if you're just playing, because you'll hear some, no, I'm doing it because of practice. Well, then practice. You don't need to stream it to practice.
And again, there are streaming methods that can work. Mixcloud Live, I think it's, what do they charge? Well, they're not charging now, but I think it's going to be $20 a month. It's not the greatest. David mentions Zoom. Zoom is okay. It's not the greatest, but it's okay. I think the cool thing about it, I think if we would have tried to sell a Zoom party 3 months ago and people had been like, oh, the audio is crap. Today, if you can do something on Zoom where you have all their friends and family on the screen in Brady Bunch mode, and you can facilitate whether it's like, okay, everybody, now we're going to do the electric slide, stand back and do this and go that and do that. If you can do things like that where you're interacting with people, it's not the same as a dance party in no way, shape, or form. But we can utilize Zoom in ways, and you know what, they're going to, the electric slide, maybe the audio sounds a little funky. That's okay, because they're there to experience this Brady Bunch thing with all their friends and family, and to be silly. And we as a DJ, we're going to play a little music, but we're going to be more hosting the event and say, oh, what's Sheila doing up there in the corner? Oh my gosh, Sheila, don't do that. You're going to break the, oh, yay for Sheila. That kind of thing, whatever. It's our job to work the crowd digitally, and that's where we're going to go. Yes, we can play music. We can do that in Zoom because that's a private network or private area, and Zoom doesn't police that, and the computers and the algorithms that Facebook use and such, none of them are there doing that things.
I think I do want to clarify, because I think a lot of people are under this impression that it's illegal on Facebook, it's illegal on YouTube, but it's okay these other places. From a legal standpoint, or however you want to use it, it's not. Like, just because Zoom isn't shutting it down doesn't suddenly mean that it's legal. It just means that they're not policing it. Just because 8,000 people are doing it on Twitch doesn't suddenly mean it's legal. It just means that it hasn't been shut down yet. Yeah, they haven't gotten to them yet. Mixcloud, like we said, it seems to be about the only one that it is, because you're paying to do so. So they're turning around and using some of those fees and that to help offset the costs of paying the groupings. So whether that sways you or not is not my point, other than to say, don't confuse yourself by saying, well, why is it legal for them to do it and not for them? It's not. They're just not policing it. And
Twitch is the biggest question mark is, how come DJs are streaming heavily on Twitch right now and no one's getting in trouble there? Well, there actually have been 2 that I know of who have lost their account. Because their accounts were banned because they were caught streaming music of some sort. I don't know how they did, because you see everybody is streaming to Twitch. I mean, we've done that too. I don't know how they managed it. I don't know if it was something that they could upload a video and they uploaded the video, they streamed it and then they uploaded a video with a lot of stuff on it. I couldn't tell you. I'm not a Twitch expert. And Zoom, Mac Warrior there mentioned Zoom may come under fire soon. The word that I heard from somebody that works with Zoom on a more regular basis, they said that they're working on an algorithm so that that music playback, they can make it more distorted, which is not what I was exactly wanting to hear. But especially on the free accounts, that the music playback would be right now. Sometimes when we're doing a Zoom meeting, you'll hear somebody talking, and then all of a sudden it'll speed up, and it'll slow down and really speed up really quick. That's the kind of stuff they're saying may be happening when Zoom detects music, that they may do something like that. I hope not, because for many of us, this could be a way to add that micro wedding, more people at the event type of capability. And let's face it, we're spending a lot of money on this Zoom stuff too, to have that capability or a fair share.
Well, and you just hit on it, when you said about the free accounts versus the potential for the pro, there could be some hidden licensing very similar to that within that. I mean, if Zoom decides to go after that, they might give themselves an option, hey, listen, if you're planning on doing it this way to prevent problems, pay an extra $5 a month or whatever it happens to be, and we won't screw up with your audio playback.
They have, if you're into the enterprise version of Zoom, supposedly that's uncompressed audio. They're basically then streaming the audio at a high resolution and a high bit rate, so it's supposed to sound basically like CD quality type of thing. But it costs much more, and you're supposed to have like 1,000, whatever. It's supposed to be. The enterprise is a big thing. It's like, if that would be even at $100 a month, if a person could have that kind of quality audio, I think there's a lot of DJs out there who would easily be able to recoup that money by doing micro events and virtual dances right now, because people are kind of hungry for that. The question becomes is down the road, in 6 months when we start opening up parties, is there going to be a market for it? I have to say, I think there might be. I think that these virtual parties, this could be part of our future, that there's going to be a niche for that, where we've got family all over the country and we want to have a get together, and we just can't afford to fly people. Not everyone's going to fly. Or, hey, we've got this thing and we want to celebrate this weekend. Can we do a virtual party? Sure, I can get you set up. And as a paid pro level, I have more capabilities than the person who's just using the free account with their friends and such.
Take it one step further. Bobby and Susie are getting married. They've got a budget of a certain amount. They really would like to have, 250 people at their wedding, but their budget only allows them for 150. Hey, we can help you reach those other 100 people, and it's only going to cost you the cost of 2 more plates.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of paying for 100 more plates at dinner, we've got 2 more. Just don't let the venue find out you're doing that.
I saw somebody, and I don't remember who, and if it's somebody in the chat room, I apologize. I don't remember whose idea it was, but doing a Zoom ceremony and having it where they would have a huge TV set. So they had the pastor, the bride and the groom, and the best man, matron of honor, and then they had the Brady Bunch. They had a huge monitor with all the Brady Bunch of guests that were sitting where the guests would be. Basically, the TV was right there, so that as the bride and groom were doing their vows, they could turn and see all the faces from all their friends and family on the Zoom thing. And I thought, that's such a cool idea. Very neat idea, that a way of incorporating the people and letting them be there for this ceremony. And yet the bride and groom can look out there and say, wow, look at all these, there's 100 people watching us on Zoom right now. How cool is that?
And you had the ability to have the production to put it on.
Exactly. Yep. Most of you have been watching us, or you've been doing it yourself, or you've been involved with it. So you've got to step up when it comes to using that technology. And then if you're Robin, you'll put a cool backdrop in, and it'll be so awesome. I didn't think they were going to Vegas. Why is there a picture of Vegas behind them? Well, you see.
They're that good.
The Mac, why they won't. It's really becomes the management of a license, to be able to go and have a license that covers all 3 areas in which you are BMI, ASCAP, and SES AC. Those are the main ones, and those are they've got licensing, partial licensing, and then there's the licensing that has to happen at other levels. And to get it all done and the managing of it's a nightmare. So it's easier for them to say no right now, or it's to say, oh, well, you need to give us a list of all the songs that you would like to license, and then we can get you going.
Well, and that would be the other piece that becomes kind of an ugly animal, because when Facebook is shutting down streams and everything, how you would go about that, Facebook would have to have a place to allow you to submit your license so they know, and then the algorithms would have to stay away from you. I don't see it ever happening from that standpoint, where our license would be an individual thing.
No, I don't think so. And even when we were talking into the thing, it's like, okay, so if I had 10,000 DJs behind me, what do you think could happen? How about 100,000 DJs? Okay, let's go crazy. Say there was 1 million DJs out there that wanted this, and to a point, it becomes this management nightmare. And getting back to Nick, the Facebook licensing on Facebook, they're looking at what YouTube did. YouTube came up and has agreement with a few labels, but not all of them. So Facebook could write agreements with some labels, and for all we know, they might have an agreement with a couple of labels, but it's just not worth their time to do that. It's better to have the computer that basically shuts people down and have fun with that. So
I did notice. So I decided for the first time ever on Saturday night, I did one stream just for myself, kind of on Twitch, and went through there. And then I was like, you know what? I'm going to throw something on Facebook. I have never done it. If I get slapped, it's my first warning.
Yeah.
Type of thing. Did it for 30 minutes. I had 2 notifications from Sony and 1 from UMG. But it was funny because the wording was different.
Yep.
Between the two. So like one was claiming that it belonged to them, and the other one was claiming that they had the rights to what I was doing. So it was almost like, any money that's made off of this, we're going to keep, but you can keep doing what you're doing. And the other one was like, you need to stop. And so it was funny to see the difference between the two. And to see that I got those three notifications within 30 minutes. And, I've got friends of mine who did the night before for an hour and a half. And of course, if they got the notification, maybe they just ignored it. But I just said, I'm going to delete it at the end of the night. Mac, to answer your question, how do they manage radio? Radio actually keeps track of all of their radio plays and then submits it at the end of a certain time period. So that it's that's one of the reasons why you can call and request a song from a radio station, and they might play it, but only because they were going to play it anyway.
It's called metadata, is the word that they like to use within this realm. What's your metadata? What do you have for metadata information on your songs that you're going to play? Because you will have to log everything, log all of your metadata. And I think that's what you're referring to, Dan, is what the radio stations do, because that was a huge discussion in this. We'll need to have all of this information, and oh my goodness gracious, there's no way DJs are going to do that. We'd have to have a full-time person on staff. If you're DJing, I was envisioning MJ, who's sometimes out 4 or 5 times a night. He would have to have someone who would be managing, taking all the songs he did and logging them and submitting them, and then doing the different things, because again, you can only play the songs you have you're licensing to. You can't play the other songs. So
the history in our software helps, but it's still is what it is.
Oh wow, a threatening letter from Sony. I haven't heard that one yet.
Thanks, David. I'm thirsty.
David, there we go. David went there. I didn't even have to go there tonight.
I was kind of depressed. I mean, it took you this long.
It took it that long to get it out. So. Holy cats! It's after 11. We got to wrap up.
Yeah. Well, hopefully you thought it was interesting. I told you it was going to be an interesting show. So we started off, we talked about venues, we talked about schools, and then we ended up talking about streaming services and all the fun stuff that goes into that. So here's the great thing. Keep doing the things that are making you happy. Keep doing the things that you're enjoying. Keep playing the music. Keep enjoying it. Keep enjoying DJing, so that when we do get the opportunity to play and make money off of it,
You're ready
in whatever format that might be, whether it's virtual or in person, 3,000 people events, you're ready, you're happy, and you still love it. So thank you very much for taking time to join us on this Monday evening. Because we're out of time, just make sure you check in the emails for all the good shows that are coming up this week. And as John previewed in the beginning, make sure you are checking out the free help areas, djntv.com/help. You have yourself a wonderful evening. Thank you very much.
Good night, everybody.